Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us, hanging out for some craft beer and conversations. We always appreciate it. If you are joining us for the live stream, we'd love to know what you're drinking. Any questions you have, just chime in and chat with us. We appreciate it. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how's it going?
It's going. I'm here. Man, it hit me right before the show. I'm like, I'm a little tired. I should drink some coffee. And I'm like, no, if I do that, I get jittery.
It's late. It's late for coffee. And you get...
It is late.
Yeah, you get a little... Your fast forward button is pushed if you have coffee late. So.
And because it's late, later in the day, and the stumbling increases with greater speed. And,
right.
It just exaggerates the badness.
This is a good thought, Brian.
Accentuate the goodness, but coffee sounds amazing right now. But I'm abstaining, Tim. I am.
Do you drink water throughout the day as you're supposed to?
I do. Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say they've said hungry or tired or that if you've been going that sometimes it can just be a little dehydration if you've been busy and forgot to partake of your H2O, then that can happen.
I spent all day basically grinding and talking and interacting with AI, so it's kind of draining, honestly. Because I had but I had like 4 sessions going at once, and so I was spinning plates. I had one doing one thing, one doing another thing, another thing, and I realized that's a lot of fun, but when you hit the end and stop, you're like, oh, I'm just done. But anyway, How are you, Tim?
I'm good, man. I'm making it okay here. Yeah, it's a good day. The sun is shining. We've actually had an abundance of sun here in Georgia. We're in a little bit of a dry spell here, and I know some of the places in the state are critical or whatever. Like they really, really need some rain. And I think where I am, we're low. I can't remember the last time we got some rain.
I'm doing my part by staying the opposite of dry all the time.
There you go.
All the time, yeah.
You're doing your part, right?
I am, yes. I'm contributing to the overall non-dryness.
When it's this hot outside, you can't help but be a little moist when you leave when you exit your building.
Right. It's a bit moist. It's a bit moist there. Nate, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. It's been another week. I did not stand in front of AI all day, but I was doing some physical labor today. So
I think it's interesting that certain people use AI a lot and some just really don't have a use to even touch it, to be honest with you. So do you ever mess with it, Nate? Do you goof with it any?
Goof with it a little bit, but I don't really have a professional reason to touch it at the moment.
Yeah. I use it as a hobby, just doing things that, we've talked about. I've looked up beer information, history, hop profiles. Now you got to check it though. We've talked about that before. It will make stuff up on you. It's interesting. But then my day job, I'm using it pretty much. I wouldn't say constantly, but consistently throughout the day. So
we had an article, a story about a beer website that basically got called out by some very important paper in either San Diego or San Francisco or something like that for reporting something that it was San Francisco because it was related to
the Anchor Brewing. Yeah.
They reported stuff that wasn't true, and it promoted Hamdi Ulukaya and his people to come out and make a statement about it. So in a way, it worked out to everybody's benefit. But yeah, AI screwed them over by hallucinating some stuff. They reported it. They got called out publicly, but they actually prompted the folks that own Anchor to make a statement on what's going on. Like the idea was Anchor was leaving, San Francisco.
San Francisco, right?
People are like, no, that's not happening. So
yeah. I will say this. I use AI a good bit. I have to check it. So my day job is a recruiter. So, I use it for preparing job description. I use it for preparing resumes, and it definitely will just throw stuff into either one randomly. So you have to quality check that work. And now if you call it out, it will immediately acknowledge. It's like, I'm like, hey, is this true about this? It's like, you know what? You're right to call that out. That's my mistake. And I'm like, okay, why didn't it'd be nice if you checked it before, and to get back to the Anchor story for those that missed it, again, like Brian said, the article was not saying that they were leaving San Francisco, but the AI scrub of it or whatever they did with it, summary, put it that way. And Brian, I have to say, I'm not trying to call anybody out here, but it's pretty irresponsible journalism. I mean, like in what I do, or if I'm doing it for a hobby, if I miss something. But if you're publishing an article, and this was a site that is fairly well known, it wasn't some little rando blogger off there. So check your AI, check him.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before we move on from the AI, because I work in technology, I had it make some code changes for me. I also set up a separate AI to go in and review those code changes. It's the same AI, but like in a different session. It found problems that the other one missed, and I used it to find its own problems. So, it's a tool. Yes, you can't trust it, sort of thing. But you can actually use it to use it to fix itself. Sometimes it really speeds things up. Other times it just makes things worse too.
It does. Yeah. Well, moving right along, y'all. Let us talk about some beer news. A little quick info there, Brian. And I think you're the one that dubbed this the Macro McRib. Some news. It's back. The Macro McRib is back.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of details. I saw it posted on social media. There's no real anything behind it, but the Macro McRib is, of course, Busch Light Apple, aka Bapple, and it is coming back nationwide. And I saw an article actually from the same one that we were talking about before, like the surprise return of Bapple. I'm like,
surprise.
Was it really that surprising? Like it's set up to be kind of this McRib style thing. Anyway, if you're excited about Busch Light Apple, it's coming back April 20th. So is
soon.
That's really soon. Is that how?
It's like a couple days away.
Yeah, it's like a few days. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's very soon. Yeah, so call up your local liquor store and harass them about Busch Light Apple. They love that.
We know that there are people that are excited about that, and good for them. I gotta admit, so I don't always catch it when it comes back. I try not to eat the trashy food, and if anyone needs to not eat it, it's me. I do like a McRib though. I do like a McRib. So if I hear it's around, I usually do try and grab one if I can.
Yeah, I'd get that. I would get both of these if they came around. I know we got our chance to drink one, or at least Nate and I did.
Nate grabbed some. We tried them. We tried them.
They're not great. If I saw a sixer in the store, I would buy it just because of what it is. I'd drink it on the show just for the heck of it.
I would not. I wouldn't spend money on it. I mean, if I was around and the Bapple was the only thing to drink, I would. I mean, I didn't find it. It wasn't horrible, but it's not something I would pay money for.
I will definitely do it now because I just thought of a reason why I would do it. I'm looking for a Bapple Boilermaker. So that's why I need to have one
weird,
now.
Man. You're so
weird. I fully acknowledge this. But,
fair enough. Here's the thing. What are you pairing with the Bapple? Because my first thought was Laird's Applejack.
Yes, if you want to reinforce the appleness of it, but do you want to reinforce it, or do you want something that complements or contrasts with it?
Get a cinnamon liqueur. Go with something like a cinnamon Fireball.
So Bapple and Fireball.
I wasn't thinking Fireball, but there's some I don't remember the name of it.
Then
but
you're
there's
not
some artisan
Brian.
Cinnamon whiskey. No, there's an artisan cinnamon whiskey that I think is actually made in either close
There's
to
one
us
made
in
in
Tennessee
Georgia.
or
There's
Georgia.
One made in Georgia. Yeah.
I
forget the brand.
If I could find that, I'd consider it. I might have some Fireball around here too. I would try it. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah, why not, right?
The stuff dreams are made of right there. Well, Brian, speaking of drinking, what are your beers of the week?
Yeah, so I pre-gamed with Hop Butcher's Aspect of Aquarius, and apparently that's a series. I haven't looked into the full thing, but they've got aspects of different, what do they call it, astrology symbols or whatever. Anyway, this is the Aquarius one, and it's a New England IPA with mosaic anchovy hops, which is part of the reason I had to get it, Idaho 7, and lemon lime hop oil. And it's really good. It's very good. It's from Hop Butcher. I expect high things from them, and they usually deliver on that. So very tasty. Go grab some if you find it. Good stuff. Now I am getting into Parish Brewing's Every Fragment Still Knows the Shape of the Whole, which is a double New England IPA collaboration with Burial. And it's got tons of Mosaic in various forms in it, like Mosaic T90, Mosaic Incognito, Mosaic Lupo Max. I'm not even sure these are all real things. Some of this just sounds like it's made up, but yeah, and that's good. Like if you like Mosaic, this is the place to be. And later on, post show probably, Patreon folks, I will be getting into Other Half's Double Nelson Daydream, which is an Imperial Oat Cream IPA, double dry hopped with Nelson Sauvins. So that is my plan. Yes.
Fancy. Nate, what are you getting into this week?
So in my glass, from Parish Brewing, I've got Every Fragment Still Knows the Shape of the Whole. It was convenient that Brian and I had the same beer tonight because it's kind of nice when we get to share the same beer on the show. We used to do this when we were in the studio all the time.
Studio days, yeah.
We had the same beer all the time, and so it's nice whenever this opportunity arises for us.
Was this intentional? Was this a planned partnering here? Okay, all right, that makes it even more special.
Yeah, I purchased this beer last week, and so I had intended on this being on the show for tonight, and so it's just kind of nice. And then on deck from the Seed Brewing, I've got After Winter, which is a Keller Pils brewed with Cascade hops and marigold blossoms, and I'm looking forward to that. We recently had a beer festival come through Atlanta called Little Beer Fest, and what happens usually after that festival is a lot of smaller beers are infiltrating the market, and so you get to see a lot of the offshoots of that, where there's a lot more variety of the crispy boys, that more variety than you would typically see, and so this was one of those offshoots.
Yeah, that's always fun with the beer fest here, because the way our distribution laws work is you can, and we've heard they're making it more difficult to do this. And by they I mean the government. But they can sign up like a 1 day or 1 time distribution plan with a distributor just to come in for the festival for breweries that are not normally distributed here. And that's actually worked out well for us before, because some of the beers, like we talked about it a lot, Old Nation, the reception they had when they came here for a festival was so good that they continued distribution here. So now we get their beers because people loved having them here, and they showed them it was worth coming to Georgia for. You know what they need to do, man? We need to get one of these festivals to talk Firestone Walker into doing like a 1 day deal here and send some stuff out, because maybe they would see the love and we could get them in Georgia. That would be pretty cool.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, Brian, moving along to our beer news stories. This first one is beer adjacent, but it's pretty big stuff. Some changes in the laws, and I know you've dug into this more than I have, but there are some changes in the laws as they relate to home distilling.
Yes, and beer adjacent, but also it is related to beer in some aspects. But if you've ever thought about making your own ice bock at home brewing, that's where I believe that calls for freezing, which is technically freeze distillation, which is technically illegal, I think, by my understanding of the law. Or if you've ever tried to make your own or wanted to make your own flavored vodka or Applejack, which is something that's common for people to make, and you didn't because you're worried about getting in trouble with the man, have I got some great news for you. The 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans declared that the ban on home distilling is unconstitutional. I'm happy to say that, saying that it is an unnecessary and improper means for Congress to exercise its power to tax. And this overturns a 150-year-old federal ban on home distilling, at least in theory. That's what I'm led to believe. The core of the legal battle wasn't about public safety or anything like that. It's about taxes, and that was the whole justification for the ban. The court basically said that Congress overstepped its tax-collecting powers by banning the practice entirely. The case was spearheaded by the Hobby Distillers Association, cheers to those guys, which represents people who just want to make small batches of spirits at home without being treated like criminals, don't we all? And the original reason for the ban, it was enacted back in 1868 during the Reconstruction era to stop people from dodging liquor taxes, because that was a pretty common thing. And up until now, if you got caught with a still in your garage or somewhere, you could face up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine for that. Judge Edith Holland Jones, and I got shout out to this judge, had a lot of really insightful thoughts about the ban too, saying that the ban actually reduces tax revenue by preventing distilling in the first place, because No hobby distillers means fewer people getting into the business. Fewer people getting into the business means less taxes collected. So you are killing this industry by preventing people from being hobbyists. That's fantastic. That judge is brilliant. Also, the judge warned that if the government can ban distilling just to protect tax revenue, then they could theoretically ban everything and anything, even like working from home, if it makes collecting taxes harder. So that is a bad justification for banning a thing. How hard it makes for you to collect taxes has no bearing on that being legal. So I love this judge. I really do. I want to send this judge flowers or moonshine or something. I don't know. Anyway, so far the Department of Justice and the TTB, the folks who regulate alcohol, haven't had much to say about the ruling. And I should say at this point that I am not a lawyer and none of this is legal advice. I can't promise you that enforcement agencies won't still attempt to enforce the ban because they don't want to change. Nor can I promise that they won't find some alternate strategy to criminalize this consensual adult behavior that has no victims because they enjoy doing that. Morality police and all. The individual states may also have bans of their own in place, so be careful out there. But it kind of looks like we're going to be able to, distill our own spirits, which is amazing, and make ice box without worrying about it. So.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I am curious to know which states have bans in place rather than just falling on the federal ban, because that will make a big difference. Because I think it was Alabama or Mississippi. I think Mississippi. It was like 2013 or so. It wasn't that long ago that Mississippi legalized homebrewing, and I think Alabama was not far behind it. So we're just talking about beer there. So even without a federal ban in place, it took them, what was it, 70 something or other, when our buddy Jimmy Carter, did that. And then it took them nearly 40 years before Mississippi, was allowed to do
seriously. So I can only imagine. The thing about this is because the government has made it illegal for so long, it's possible some states don't have any laws about it because the federal government's always handled it. I can't promise that. I don't want to tell people to go out and start distilling and have the TTB swoop down and I was like, we found another way.
I'm not telling any. Yeah, that would be. I'm just saying. Exactly. I think there's some states it's likely that there's some states that don't have a state level ban because a federal ban already covered it, but it's also likely that some states do have a state level ban, even though there's already a federal ban in place. So
very, very likely. So
we'll see. But as it progresses and more states come to things, some states may have to go through the fighting in that. But if it gets loosened up, we may see a little spike in distilling in the distilled spirits industry there.
I wonder how much bigger craft distilling would have been. I know it went through kind of its own like resurgence or increase around with craft beer. I don't know how big that got because I don't follow that industry as closely, but I know that was a big thing for a while. Now everybody, people are less excited about alcohol. I've heard rumors that all those people went to vapes, but anyway, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with
vaping
that. But
California sober.
Yeah, how much bigger could I? Maybe there would have been like 50 different Pappies out there that people would be vying for as being the very best of all whiskeys instead of just the one. Like there could have been all of this quality out there for a long time, and
so we saw it in Georgia firsthand, where we had when we got looser laws on home brewing or on brewing, when brewers had more flexibility to do things, to sell food on site, this and that, because until 2017, 2018, our laws were pretty restrictive here. It's still restrictive, but they were pretty restrictive. So you couldn't have a tasting room, you couldn't sell beer out of your tasting room, you had to do these tours and samples and that. So people that got into beer, it was tough to enter the market because the only way you could really make any money was sending it out to distribution, and that gets cut down so much. So when we had that, we had a surge of breweries open here, and that allowed more people to do it, and it really raised the bar for beer in Georgia. And much love to all the pioneers that started it. But I think Creature Comforts is one that I still say was just a very big turning point where it's like, this is different quality. This beer is different. This beer is different, and a lot of others followed that. And maybe you could see that in distilling too, on a small scale.
Yeah, because honestly, we've got some good distillers like Richland Rum. I do like. I've visited one of their facilities over on the coast, and they're great. You could count all of our distillers maybe on one hand in the entire state.
Sure.
I'm like, would we have had more if this hadn't been a federal ban? Probably, and we might have had some pretty legendary stuff that was made locally. I'm not throwing shade on anything that is currently. I think a lot of the stuff that is currently is being brought into a brewery. They've bottled it, put their name on it, so it's not the same thing. But I don't know. Who knows?
Interesting. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens there. Brian, more legal news here, a little different angle on this, but Boston Beer Company is being sued, and it's over aluminum cans.
Yeah, this is a weird one. They're being sued by Ardagh Metal Packaging because they didn't buy as many aluminum cans, or as the Brits like to say, aluminium, as they promised between 2021 and 2025. The jury just slapped Boston Beer Company with a $175.5 million verdict. This whole legal mess is tied pretty directly to the hard seltzer boom and bust that happened recently. Due to the downturn in truly hard seltzer, Boston Beer suddenly didn't need nearly as many cans as they thought they were going to need and had committed to in their contracts, apparently. But Boston Beer isn't paying up just yet. They will appeal the decision, and they still claim that they didn't actually break any contractual obligations. I love how people will continue to do that. But I guess if you're going to appeal, you have to say that. On the other hand, they apparently had some idea this was coming. Boston Beer noted that the $175 million judgment was within the expected range they previously communicated to their investors. They estimated this could have been as high as $300 million. So I guess they got a little bit of a deal on this if they end up having to pay. Despite the massive fine, this is crazy, the company says the huge payment wouldn't actually change how they run their business day to day if in fact they do end up paying up. It turns out Boston Beer has about $223 million in cash sitting around and a big line of credit to cover the rest if the appeal fails. And with the potential $175 million payment on top of this, Boston Beer still plans to spend $25 million buying back their own stock over the next few months. So they're going to make the stock more valuable as well. Ardagh, if I'm saying that right, A-R-D-A-H-G-H. Anyway, they haven't officially commented on the matter, and they probably won't say anything right now. They're in a quiet period before they release their Q1 reporting in the coming weeks, but all they're going to say is like, hey, we were vindicated, and if they bring it back to us, we'll be vindicated again. I'm sure that's all they would say, just in a much more elegant way. But, Boston Beer, this seems like a pretty big hit. This sucks away a lot of their available cash sitting in their bank, but it's just sitting there. Probably
a lot of cans.
It is a lot of cans.
That was my thinking is like, that's a large amount, but even more, man, that is a lot of cans when you're talking $175 million in aluminum cans there. And so interesting. And, I guess if you've got a contract for it, because I've heard them talking about like the hop farmers, they do hop contracts. They do predictions based on what's selling and what's brewing and what people are going to use, because they've got to know ahead of time what they need to plant and how much of it. So, that cycle can really impact what brewers can do. If they're down a year, the farmers are going to have to adjust for that. The stock's going to be there. It's going to hurt them. So I guess even with aluminum cans, if they had a contract to buy however many they were supposed to buy and they bought $175 million less than that, they couldn't have predicted the bust of the industry there. So
true.
Interesting, man. Interesting stuff there.
I kind of wonder if there was a penalty involved in this. Like it's maybe it's $100 million worth of cans and $75 million worth of penalty on top of that, because sometimes that gets worked in. So I'm not sure exact. I am curious. I did not see it stated anywhere exactly how many cans they really needed to buy. A lot.
It had to be a lot if we're talking $175 million there. So I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Well, Brian, interesting story here. So, how mad have you got at the price of beer before?
Well, I mean, the first time I
what's
recall,
the most action you've taken over your anger at a price of beer?
Well, I very loudly got angry when I went to a new Irish pub when I was living in Portland, around the corner from me, in a fancy new pub that they put up. It replaced an old one, which was quite nice. And the new one, I believe, took the price of a Guinness up from about, I want to say it was $2.75 to like $3.50. Like it was outrageous. So
Insane.
I was incensed by this. I can't even believe this. This is higher than any place else in the entire town of I think that was Portland. So yeah, everywhere else that does Guinness, like it's a good 50 to 75 cents cheaper. I can't believe this. This outrage will not stand.
Wild,
and actually,
man.
I didn't end up going back there again.
I get that. I get that. So, and it's interesting that this was Guinness, because the story that we're sharing here is related to Guinness, and Irishmen are serious about their Guinness, but one Irishman was so upset by the price of a pint of Guinness that he built an AI to price check it, and even went as far as to building a map. And I hear that what he's done has actually had some impact on beer prices.
It has. Yeah, the whole thing started when the founder of this thing, Matt Corland, felt the sting of paying €7.80 for a pint, or roughly $9, for a pint of Guinness in Dublin. He decided that's enough. So he found out. He tried to contact Ireland's Central Statistics to find out what's the price of a Guinness, what should it be, and he found out that they stopped tracking the price of Guinness all the way back in 2011. Which, what else are you tracking in Ireland if you're not tracking Guinness? I don't even understand that. So if he was gonna get any real data on the price of Guinness in Ireland and what it should be, he was gonna have to do it himself. And by doing it himself, I obviously mean he was going to have to use AI, because that's what everybody does right now. So he built an AI agent named Rachel, or he named it Rachel, and gave her a Northern Irish accent and programmed her to call and chat with bartenders all over Ireland. Apparently, the AI was so convincing that most bartenders didn't even realize they were talking to a robot. Some of them were, joking with her, and even offering to buy Rachel's first pint when she visited the pub. He took all the data he collected and used yet another AI, Claude, which is one I'm familiar with, to build the Gindex, so Guinness plus DEX, which he calls a living, breathing consumer price index for the price of Guinness across Ireland. So what is the normal price of Guinness in Ireland? The straight average of everything puts it right at a penny over €6, but the most common price people actually report seeing is €5.50. Are euros cents? Is that what it is? I always forget if it's.
I'm not sure with euros. I know pounds is pence, right?
It's pence, yeah. So
pounds and pence.
Well, I'll just say €5.5, which is about $6.30. And for the most expensive pint of Guinness, the most expensive Guinness in Ireland is currently sitting at a whopping €11. And I assume that's in Dublin, but the article didn't say, and I did not zip around the map and try to find it. But interestingly, the Gindex is having, like Tim said, is having an effect on the pint prices already. At least one pub owner already saw their listing on the Gindex, realized that they were overcharging. They dropped their price by 40 cents, and they even updated the Gindex afterwards to reflect the new price, so they don't get judged too harshly by all of the surrounding pubs. As to how much did it cost to put this whole thing together, to make the Gindex, reportedly Cortland only spent about €200 in total to do all of it. The agents, create the website, do all the thing. I'm sure the hosting is going to rack up some cost because he's getting a lot of traffic. But Cortland, the creator of this, has big plans. He's hoping to replicate the success of the Gindex for other products and services, perhaps even for prescription drugs in the U.S., which would be amazing if he did that, or even for like pizza slices in New York City. But heck, I want him to put it to use here in Atlanta so we can finally have a proper chicken wing index. I want to know where is the right place to go, the most affordable chicken wings in Atlanta or the state. So yeah, that's what needs to happen. That is the pressing concern that we have.
It's important. The people deserve to know, Brian. The people deserve to know. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, before we move on here, how about we give a shout out to our friends at Truck and Tap?
That's a great idea. So, it's a rare occasion when my Truck and Tap beer picks for the week don't include an IPA. In fact, all of my beers for today are IPAs. But after looking over the tap list and choosing my beers, I realized this is one of those rare occasions. Sure, there are some great IPA options to be had, but other beer options just seem more appealing to me this week. So, and I only bring this up to remind you that you don't have to be a hophead like me to enjoy some great beer at Truck and Tap. There's enough variety for whatever strikes your fancy. It doesn't even have to be beer, but let's pretend it's beer and get into those Truck and Tap beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I am going with Slow Pours Lot 49. Lot 49 is a bourbon barrel aged sour ale with orange zest and sweet cherry. And if that sounds a little familiar to you, it should. It's a beer that's inspired by the classic old-fashioned cocktail. And I've been making and drinking my share of old-fashions lately, so I can't pass this one up. I have to try it. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Bold Monk's The Way, which is a Belgian triple with notes of citrus and honeydew. And honeydew is an interesting note to get in a triple, so that's intriguing. And it's also a U.S. Open Beer Championship gold medal winner in both 2021 and 2024. So you've got to love a good award-winning Belgian triple, and this is one of those. At Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Pontoon's Crocante. I think it's how you say it. On the side pull tap, I didn't even know Pontoon made an Italian Pilsner, but here it is, and it's on the best tap in the house. Reportedly, this crisp Pilsner was dry hop with Hellertau, Mittelfrüh, and Tettnang hops, and I'm going to get it. That sounds great, and I love seeing them do this kind of thing. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with AleSmith's Nut Brown Ale. Of all of the beers in my beer picks for this week, this one called out to me the most. And I'm not sure why an easygoing 5% English brown ale or nut brown ale, but it just sounds so amazing to me right now, but it does. The tap list describes it as a rich and malt forward and notes of biscuit and mild cocoa and earthy hops. And all I can say is, heck yeah. I want to get this. I would be drinking that right now if I had it here, but I don't. So, and there you have my beer picks for the week. Get out there and have a beer or two. As always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. The taps do change quickly, so you never know what great new beer might go on and which of these might just suddenly disappear. And if you'd like to see what food trucks are, serving there and what events are happening, trivia, karaoke, live music, other fun events that pop up occasionally, you can also find that at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com. So check that out, and thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We appreciate you. Brian, some interesting news here. The BA has announced their top 50 quote-unquote craft breweries. We're going to talk about this list, and then we actually have a story that kind of ties into it about what may be a little bit of a surprise on where some of the money goes in beer. But interesting list here, and of the top 50 U.S. craft breweries, the definition seems to get a little more muddied the more we see these acquisitions and that. But Brian, what are the highlights on this one?
Yeah. So the BA, the top of 2025. That's the year, not this year, but last year. Big changes, as you said. The headline for this last list is Sierra Nevada has officially leapfrogged Boston Beer Company to take the number 2 spot on the list. The crazy thing is that 80% of Boston Beer Company's revenue is now coming from Twisted Tea and Truly Hard Seltzer, while their actual beer volume is basically stalled out. So even having them on this list seems a little interesting. But so while Boston Beer is focused on seltzers and hard tea, Sierra Nevada doubled down on IPAs and also Study the Blade. Their Little Thing family, specifically Hazy Little Thing, is carrying them right now. It is the number 4 best-selling craft brand as of 2025. Also, non-alcoholic beer was a powerhouse last year. We know this. We've been hearing about this. Athletic Brewing Company dropped 2 spots to number 6 in the list after taking a year off from reporting their data. Artisanal Brewing Ventures, that is the group that owns Victory and Southern Tier, and I think maybe a couple of other properties, I don't know, but those are the big names. They are back on the list at number 11, which is 1 spot down from when they last reported, which I believe was 2023. And several Northeastern craft breweries posted big jumps. In the ranking, Fiddlehead Brewing moved up 6 spots to number 17. Hendler Family Brewing jumped 5 spots to number 27. And New Trail Brewing moved up 4 spots to number 42. They were, the Northeast is having some big jumps still. Like, we're not seeing that in other parts of the country, but, very interesting. Maui Brewing Company took the biggest hit this year. They dropped 16 spots. That sounds bad, but that's mostly because apparently they split from Modern Times, so they aren't counting Modern Times production numbers in with their numbers anymore. So they basically are half of what they used to be. And sadly, the number 50 spot was opened up by the closure of Rogue, which went out of business late last year. So, yeah, they're out of the list completely and forever. And in the overall top 50 breweries list, which includes the big macros, which they also put together, I don't spend a lot of time looking at that, but Guinness moved up to the number 5 spot. Guinness, a.k.a. Diageo. They knocked Pabst down a peg, basically, when they did that. Now, Pabst wasn't having a good year either, but Guinness was having a crazy good year. So, yeah. So it's a big move.
Pabst still being that high up is impressive. I didn't even know Pabst was still a craft brewery, to be honest with you.
Well, no. That's the overall top 50. That's
the overall. Okay.
That includes Anheuser-Busch and all the other stuff.
Yeah. And all those. Yeah. Okay. There we go. That checks out. That checks out with what I knew there. I noticed, Brian, on the Brewers Association website, they've got a chart showing all of these in the article. And that number 4 on there, it just said Beer Brands New York. And I wasn't sure what that was, but I read down in the article, and I think they've got an arrow on their chart. That's actually Tilray. And I was surprised because I'm like, wait a minute, Tilray's got to be on here with everything they own, and they are. So Tilray is number 4, even though their chart actually shows beer brands out in the, it looks like maybe there was a placeholder there. So
my notes overlooked that. I should have thought of that. Yes, they jumped up considerably. Yeah, they're number 4. It is beer brands. Is that what they're legally called? I didn't know. I would have assumed it would be Tilray. Guess the answer is yes. One second here. We're having some technical issues, it seems. It is interesting. I'm looking at the list. Monster Brewing is number 9 in the list. That would be Cigar City and the folks involved with that. Yeah, one second, folks. We're still having some issues here.
All right, Brian. Well, speaking of Pabst Brewing Company. Oh.
Gentlemen.
Can hear you?
You said you can?
Yes.
Okay. I got a notification that my browser lost connection with my microphone, and I had to restart it to get that going again. So
I saw you abruptly mute during our chat. I'm like, oh, he's about to cough. I'll just work it through. And
I just got
things got weird. Yeah,
a technology crash here. My browser lost that. So I believe we wrapped we finalized the story there, Brian. I didn't hear what you were saying there. So I'm not sure my exact re-entry point here, but am I good to re-enter with the story about the beer spending?
Yeah, the one out of every, yeah.
Okay,
Let's start there.
gotcha. All right, here we go. Yeah, Brian, real interesting to look at these top lists and who they put on there. All the breweries and the conglomerate breweries that make up so many other breweries. It's interesting, but related to that, Brian, this is 1 out of every $8 spent on craft beer, and for the math wizards, that's 12.5% of spending there goes to New Belgium brands, Brian. But what all does that mean?
Yeah, so when I saw this headline, I thought, wow, because it's a little bit clickbaity to me, and it's just it goes to New Belgium brands. This is from Brewbound. I got to give them a shout out. They do really good work on their stuff, and I don't feel like I give them enough credit. But anyway, I saw this headline. I assumed they were talking about Voodoo Ranger when I saw this. Yes, but it's more than that. These days, Kirin owned the Kirin owned New Belgium craft portfolio. I'm putting that in quotes. It actually includes everything from New Belgium, but also everything from Bell's Brewery. That which kind of feels like cheating when you say New Belgium brands, but. So while Voodoo Ranger is the driving force behind the stat, $1 out of every $8 spent on craft beer is actually split between your Voodoo Rangers and your Two Hearteds and your Oberons, which also have, big followings. But it is an incredible statistic, though. They have managed to gain more than twice as much market share as the next closest craft beer competitor this year. And while the overall craft beer industry is seeing a bit of a slump, down nearly 4%, New Belgium is actually growing, or New Belgium as a whole is growing in volume by over 3% for this period. And the biggest growth drivers of all were the high ABV hits like the new Voodoo Ranger G-Force IPA, which apparently is just a massive mango bomb, and people are loving that. And also Juice Force, which is a big seller. New Belgium owns convenience stores these days. Like more than half of the sales that come from convenience stores are going to Voodoo Ranger Imperial and Voodoo Ranger Juice Force. Those are the two best-selling craft brands in the country, basically. Bell's Cold Hearted IPA and Flyover Light Lager were the two top craft launches in their home state of Michigan this quarter. So they're also killing it, in the local sense. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows. Fat Tire is feeling the squeeze with its dollar sales dropping by over 16% this year. So, yeah, it's fantastic. I hate to see that about Fat Tire, but they did change the recipe. So I don't know. I don't know if they were going to win anybody over with it, and they're kind of like alienating the people that remember how it used to be. Kind of feel like I heard a rumor about maybe I dreamed it. I don't know. Maybe I hallucinated. I could be AI. I don't know at this point. I kind of feel like I saw something about the possibility of the original recipe coming back already. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. There's no way you could have something that legendary and not bring it back in some aspect. I think I've heard a rumor that might be coming back at some point. I don't know. Did you hear that too?
I have not heard that, but it's Coke. It's new Coke and Coke Classic all over again, Brian.
Yes, so they've learned nothing from.
Did you learn
80s?
Nothing
was
from
it the
Coke?
80s?
I think it was the 80s, and yeah. So we probably got people that are like, "What are they talking about here?" But we commented when they changed this recipe that we questioned that. And again, we don't own massive, multi-million-dollar breweries. We're not marketing geniuses, but it seems like if you change the formula of a well-loved beer, that it's not going to go well because they're trying to ride on brand recognition there. But if you change a brand that people love, I just don't see that going well. Yeah, do either of you know of a time that's worked that they've changed something that significantly that had a following?
And never. Like Transmigration of Souls had the same problem.
Coke for like we talked about Coke, the new Coke did not work out. And here locally when they changed Orpheus changed Transmigration of Souls.
They gave away free pints to try and get people on board. It was a 10% ABV dropped to an 8% ABV. They gave away free pours of it to try and get people on board, and the feedback was, don't do this. Go back. They tried it for like 4 months, and then they wound up going back. Like it was that short of a change. They realized how much of an issue it was going to be.
But props to Jason for saying, hey, this didn't work. And going back there, but and again, the 8% transmigration was a good beer. It was a good year.
Yeah.
It was not transmigration is the thing.
It's not.
That was the issue with that. So yeah, interesting stuff, man. Marketing is always interesting to see what they do. And I guess just because these folks are marketing doesn't mean they always make the right choice.
The big mistake they've made, and I know people can say, no, it wouldn't make sense. Why is there not a stovepipe of fat tire? Why is that not out there? There should be a stovepipe of, you don't have to change it at all. Usually, yes, stovepipes are high ABV, servings. It's not always. I've seen some, and I've had a few because I do have my Long Beer Fridays that are not high ABVs. I forget which one off the top of my head, but in the large format. Why not put fat tire out there is in the large format? You will find that people will, because that's what people are grabbing. They're going to convenience stores right now. They'll see a fat tire. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And you know what? Put the Voodoo Ranger guy on that and just like let him give it a little nudge or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the large format, you put it in convenience stores. I'll bet you see it starts moving a little bit. But better yet, bring back the old one, man.
Bring back. I don't think so, Brian. I don't think so. I don't. I mean, because you'd have, let's be honest, Anchor Steam, all the fans of Anchor Steam. There were fans there, but Anchor Steam was not a current, modern, trendy beer. There are a handful of people that would be absolutely thrilled with original Anchor Steam coming back. But would it be something big for the brewery? Probably not there. And we've seen it again to bring it in local, Brian. Sweetwater, which we've mentioned this beer before, but Sweetwater makes a beer called Exodus Porter that actually medaled at GABF one year and was discontinued not long after it won its medal, because just because a beer is extremely well loved by some people, and even if it's an excellent beer, if you're a large brewery, it's about, you got to sell it. You got to sell it. If you've got your small brewery can handle having a beer that doesn't sell a ton just because people love it. A big brewery can't do that. It's got to sell.
Tilray, if you're listening, Exodus Porter, 19.2 ounce cans. Tall stovepipes of Exodus Porter. Bring them out. Make it happen. Come on. You're trying everything else. Let's do this.
Bring it. Yeah, man. And you know what they did? They make ribs with the Exodus Porter.
They do, yes, a little bit.
And it's always well received, man. So always good to see it come back around for sure. Well, Brian, here's some news. We mentioned Pabst in another story here, and this is another trend that I thought was kind of come and gone, but maybe not. Maybe I'm not keeping up with trends enough here. But Pabst has announced that they're making a pickle beer.
That's right. And it's not, I know we've gotten away from April Fools at this point a little ways, but you have to always check. Not an April Fool's gag. So if you've ever put a pickle in your PBR at a dive bar, and I know some people have, I don't know if they're listening to this podcast, but they might be. This story is for those folks. I hope they're listening. Pabst is partnering up with Grillo's Pickles to turn the Spear in a Beer dive bar ritual into a portable, limited edition PBR X Grillo's Pickle Beer, as Tim was saying. The pickle is moving from being a garnish to the main character, as the beer is brewed with a dill-forward punch that tastes unmistakably like Grillo's Pickles. And importantly, no assembly is required. You do not need to add a pickle to this. It does not come packaged with a pickle. The pickle is already in the beer, or the ingredients are anyway. But it won't taste like straight vinegar or anything like that if you're worried about that. The bright, tangy profile is said to balance with PBR's malt character to keep it palatable. And there's nothing else crazy going on with this beer, no high ABVs or anything. It'll clock in at an easy drinking 4.7% ABV. To promote the beer, they're wrapping a NASCAR Cup Series car in a PBR X Grillo's design for the Jack Links 500 on April 21st. So that's going to be a very green car with some fun pickles on it. And but the cans officially hit shelves at major retailers like Walmart, Total Wine, and other big box store type of places on May 4th. And my question for you guys, and I think you already hinted at it, Tim, is when was the year of the pickle? What year was that? I feel like that was either 2024 or 2025, and I thought even 2025 was too late.
Brian, so I was thinking about it, and I don't know if it ever really trended. I think they just pop up every now and then, because I remember a time when maybe a couple breweries did a pickle beer, but then it's like, then you'd see another one, then you'd see another one, and it pops up like that. I remember we visited, I forget which Coastal,
Coastal Empire, right?
Yeah, and they had one there, and when we had our Atlanta cask ale tasting, I believe we've had a pickle beer there. Brian, I have a question for you, and I'm going to ask a question. Have you put a spear in your beer yet? Have you dropped a pickle in a beer?
I think I have. I don't. Yeah, I've put olives in a beer. I don't actually know about a spear in a beer.
A dirty lager that's on some olives.
Yes. I forget what that was even called. It was like a Midwestern martini or something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
I thought that was
pretty good.
I thought the pickle was the Midwest martini.
No, the martini would be olives. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but we're talking I mean, technically speaking, yes, that would make sense. But Nate, hit the Googles for us there. See about Midwest martini. So
I may have done it. If
Beer Nation may be able to tell us. We're chatting with him now. He's up in that neck of the woods. So he says it's blasphemy, though. So we may.
This is some old school stuff, though. This is from bars where they would have a big vat of pickled eggs on the counter where you can eat those.
Now we're talking.
It's that kind of place, and
now we're talking.
Pull tabs or whatever you guys were talking about. It's probably that kind of place too.
That's right. Pull tabs and pickled eggs, man.
That's right.
So without even reading the article from Punch.com, how the beer teeny became a Midwestern staple, the beer teeny, a simple combination of, this is their headline, of crappy beer and green olives, often with a hint of brine. It's a staple in bars across the Midwest.
Okay. I've had that. That's not bad. It's, if you like olives and you enjoy drinking an all right lager, and it's good. I want to say that I probably have tried this. I don't recall what the verdict was. I would do it. I'd do it again. I would do it again.
Brian, what did you do? It was at the studio, and I remember our boys from Nappy Roots were in.
That's a pickleback thing.
And you put something in a jar of pickles, some kind of liquor, and we ate the pickles. Was it just whiskey? Was it whiskey?
Yeah,
pickles?
I think I put.
Yeah, they were not popular.
They were not.
They were not popular there.
That's right. I was trying to simulate the pickleback by just adding whiskey to a jar of pickles, and it didn't work out too well.
It did not.
Those pickles will get you drunk. Don't drive after eating those pickles.
I guess so, man. I guess so. You don't want to. Just don't do it. But anyhow.
Yes.
So, and Brian, I'd ask you the question: if you saw this in the stores, would you buy it? I know the answer to that.
Of course, I'd buy it.
That's easy.
Of course. If and when I do see it, I'm definitely going to get it. My buddy Ken, our buddy of the show, collects cans, and he does mostly local cans. But I'll pick up stuff like this just so I can hook him up with some interesting cans. Because if he doesn't collect it, he's got friends that will. And I love the idea of can collecting, but I don't personally do it myself. So I do it by proxy. I allow other people to collect my cans. So yeah.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, Brian, we have got something even more gimmicky than a pickle beer, and this is from Moosehead. And they use this term loosely, but Moosehead is launching or has launched a space beer.
Yeah, it's a past tense thing. We missed it. I think it should have been it should have probably been a story in the last show, but hey, I just now saw it. But in honor of the mission that's sent, and they came back. I'm actually glad we're doing it now, because if it had gone bad, this would have felt like a really bad story to run. But yeah, in honor of the mission that sent astronauts, including one Canadian, that's the tie into Moosehead, further into deep space than any other human being has ever gone before, Moosehead marked the occasion by turning their iconic beer into a freeze-dried snack, making it the first time you could have a Moosehead in zero gravity. Yeah, well, sort of. It's Moosehead in a solid form, and it doesn't have any alcohol, and you're not supposed to add any water to it, but hey, close enough. It's technically Moosehead beer. To get it done, they partnered up with the Canadian food innovators and scientists at Future Food Studio. And if you're looking to get your hands on some, a satchel full of freeze-dried Moosehead snacks, You'll have to check out their Instagram accounts. It's a limited edition space beer in quotes. It won't be hitting retailers, but I believe they are giving it away that way. So if you do get your hands on some of this space beer, again in air quotes, let us know how it is. We're talking about beer without water, carbonation, or alcohol. It doesn't sound very promising in the flavor department, but I'm curious. I try it out. I'm like, I feel like you need some seasoning. Maybe they add some salt to it. Maybe it becomes a goza. I don't know.
Yeah, room temperature solid beer does not sound delightful.
No.
Now, again, if it was around, I'd love to try it and see what it's about, but it doesn't. And to be honest, I'm not even sure Moosehead cared if it was good. It was just something fun to do there. So, rock on, man. Rock on.
It was a big press release that went out. I actually found it on the same website as another press release, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is just something to get people interested in Moosehead. I had Moosehead recently because they had some sort of they had another story in our news about there was like a presidential 500 pack of beer or something like that.
Right.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
And I went and got some because they were on my mind, and I thought it was funny.
So Moosehead was, to me, a craft beer before I knew what craft beer was. So back in my very early 20s when I lived in Arkansas, and we didn't really have craft beer at all there. Things like Moosehead and Heineken, that was considered, I didn't use the term craft or microbrand or anything, but that was the good beer. Moosehead and Heineken and that. Yeah, imports was where it was at. Exactly. Fun stuff, man. Fun stuff. Well, y'all, that about wraps up our show for this week. We appreciate you once again for hanging out with us. If you enjoy what we're doing, we would absolutely love it if you would tell a friend to tune into the show, subscribe, share it around on your socials. We would appreciate it. If you really dig what we're doing, just go to patreon.com/beerguys. We will get you an invite to our Discord server. We will send you some cool swag, and we will appreciate you very, very much. But with all that said, we hope you have a really good week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.